So what are the top problems that companies faced during the pandemic? Well, there are two things. The most obvious one would be revenue loss. And I'm not just talking about your typical demand and supply chain issues, because that's always going to be a given when the economy is stalled. But when you're inquiring about a company's product, the first thing that you do is you either go to Google search, check their email account, or look for their hotline number. That's the same thing that you also do for Facebook. And when someone calls that number and you happen to be not there, that's already opportunity loss. So one of the things that a lot of companies had to suffer is someone's calling their hotline, but you aren't there to accommodate their concerns or their sales inquiries. Obviously, that stalled for a few months, and as we see, a lot of them had to pivot into finding ways to reach out to other customers. That's the first one. The second would have to be about internal communication. So the workplace, the office is always going to be your command center. It's where you're seated right beside your teammate. You go to a meeting room, you nudge someone to talk to another colleague or to your boss. And obviously, that doesn't happen in the time of pandemic because we all have to be confined in our homes. So processes got slower. In order for you to get something done, you had to call someone up, you had to set a meeting, you had to wait for someone's availability. In pre-COVID-19 time, this doesn't happen. You can simply nudge someone, you stumble into them at the cafeteria, you walk with them along the hallways. So that made things a lot slower, and obviously a lot of events, a lot of product launches, a lot of whatever it is that a company wanted to do in 2020 didn't happen. Do I think productivity got affected when the pandemic happened? Of course, yes. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it 15 in terms of how it got affected. And as I mentioned a while ago, maybe I can give two more reasons why that became a big issue for most companies. When you have approvals coming from employee X to employee Y to director X to CEO levels, and you can't get things approved because you have to do everything remotely, that makes things a lot slower. But the second part, I think, is a lot of managements face the dilemma of choosing between security and safety. So for example, since the office is a command center, the equipment, the computer, the database, the landline, the telephone, everything that you had in your cubicle cannot be brought home. While they can be possibly brought home, a lot of management folks, of course, are hesitant to do this because it can compromise the confidentiality of information, right? You don't want to merge all the data with the personal phone of your employees together with the corporate information of the organization. So they had to choose between the two. Do I allow my people to bring home or carry those information while working from home? Or, as one of my friends did, and there's a really quick story about what they did. They would send someone every week to the office just to capture those files, and that person is required to be the one to distribute it to their office mates. Very tedious, very inefficient, and that's not what you want to do for the next 2 or 3 years. So it wasn't something that we were prepared for, but the technology is available. It's just that a lot of organizations didn't know how to capture that technology.